so much for that. It's been a very power-packed inauguration that we've just come back from, and I understand this is lunchtime. A lot of people are outside, but this is a very, very interesting conversation that we're looking at this point in time. The topic that has been given to us is fiat currencies versus bullion and versus crypto. Well, I'll of course go to my panelists, but what I really believe is that it can't be vis-a-vis one or the other. It is the kind of progression that we have seen, the uncertainties in the international markets. Gold, of course, has outperformed every other asset class. Bitcoin hasn't. In a longer time it has. Mr. Jignesha made that point there. But it really is about the modern world, the new world course that we're looking at. And it really would have to be everything that might be working together when we move ahead from here on. And I really do have a lot of questions, but even before I go ahead, I have to ask you this question. Tether is a stable coin, USDT, which is backed by gold. And there have been various reports on how Tether has been buying almost 2 tons gold every week in the 4th quarter of 2025. And where you stand right now in sense of gold buying is way higher than many other central banks as well. So one, how are you looking at gold backing stable coins? What really has been your experience in sense of acceptance that you've seen come in from the market?
Thank you so much for the questions. Hello, everyone. So my name is Quynh. I'm currently the regional expansion lead for APAC at Tether. So just to give a quick background on what Tether is and what we're doing. So we're currently the world's largest stablecoin issuer. So people know us through our US dollar-backed stablecoin USDT. Currently, we have more than 187 billion of USDT in circulation. So we started to introduce the concept of stablecoin back in 2014, and with a very simple idea to put a dollar on a blockchain network. And fast forward until now, currently we have more than 533 million users worldwide with USDT. And USDT becoming more like an innovative financial infrastructure nowadays to serve many practical use cases and to solve many financial needs for everyone, especially from people from emerging markets, for example, in APAC or Latin America or even Africa. So especially in the use case of cross-border payments or trade settlements or treasury management. So we saw that experience and we see the whole picture of how the US dollar-backed stablecoin is actually evolving and also finding the product market fit. And we actually believe that commodities, especially gold, makes a lot of sense when it comes to tokenization of real-world assets. Why? Because for over 5,000 years, gold has been humanity's ultimate store of value. It has served not only for the medium exchange, but also medium exchange or unit of account for civilizations from ancient India to Rome to China, but also as the foundation of the global monetary system. And for us, by seeing the whole picture of USDT, we feel that gold makes a lot of sense to tokenize and to bring it on-chain. So that's why we created Tether Gold XAUT back in January 2020. With the hope to combine the intrinsic value of the physical gold with the functional advantages of the crypto asset. So I think what makes gold-backed stablecoin really structurally transformative is because it can combine all the integrity of the physical gold and the advantages. For example, 24/7 settlement instantly, and also from the cost perspective, it makes a lot of sense. For example, when you have the physical gold exposure or you interact with gold ETF, there's like certain costs, recurring costs that involves with the administration fees, custody fees. But when you interact with gold, tokenized gold-backed stablecoin, there's only one time of fee for minting and redemption. So I believe that we are a huge believer in gold, and that's why we, like you mentioned, we keep like buying a lot of gold from our balance sheet, and also we keep a portion of gold as one of the as the reserve for USDT, and also for XAUT we maintain like 100% backing for the physical gold of every XAUT that we issue on chain.
You said that you launched in 2020, but the gold buying that you have been doing is just accelerated in last 1 year, would you say? What is the total portfolio of Tether that you see by the next couple of years that would be in gold?
I think that, of course, like when we introduce a new asset, new type of asset, we also need to see how it's actually fit into the whole financial infrastructure or the financial landscape. So we introduced Tether Gold back in 2020, but we did not really push for it like a lot aggressively in terms of the adoption. We just like issue it, observe it, how it find the product market fit. I think since like last year, we start actually seeing a lot of demand coming from both institutional side and also retail side as the economy, because like the market turns risk off. And when the market turns risk off, people often look for an alternative. And I think that is where like Tether Gold, XAUT actually becoming the obvious option for them in terms of store value. So I guess that, and also by talking more to high net worth individuals, family offices, and also fund managers worldwide, we found that there's the need and a demand, a strong demand from them. So that's why we really go out there and want to push for it like aggressively.
Kumar, let me come to you then. And, while the topic given to us is currency versus bullion versus crypto, but in the kind of the world that we are right now, a lot of uncertainty, of course. Do you think it's one versus the other? Or where would you say is a better store of value as of now?
Good afternoon, everyone. What I can, when I look at this topic, which is fiat versus crypto versus bullion, it's very difficult to pick one and say, this is the right fit. Every currency or every product has its own nuance. Fiat has been there for a while. It has been the most primitive apart from gold. So crypto, again, when we see is, I think, about less than 2 decades now, crypto starting. So fiat, maybe, the currency is more government-backed. It has its own trust, readily, liquidity in the middle of the night. Likewise, gold is more of stability. When you say fiat, you cannot use it for making a salary payment, for example, or for making your daily grocery bills. So fiat, I think for some portion, for the short-term perspective, you should be able to have some fiat currency. From the gold, from bullion perspective, especially gold, it has been, we have seen wars, we've seen gold has stood the test of the time. There is no counterparty risk, when it comes to gold. Fiat may be, you will get sanctioned and so on. So if there's so fiat, then bullion, and then crypto, again, it gives you a lot of innovative outreach. But at the same time, the kind of volatility that we have seen, again, it is good to have in a portfolio. Maybe a combination of all three works, depending upon your requirement, your risk profile. I think a combination of all the three, fiat, bullion, and crypto, it makes a lot of sense to keep together. Again,
as I said, it is not a debate. I think it should coexist. Chintan, let me put you in a corner with this. If you were making a portfolio right now, how much of currency and bullion and crypto and equity and debt would you put there?
Thank you. Yeah, so basically, see, assets it has to be a mix of it, as you are suggesting. But I would put it in the current situation where inflation is high and the debts of the countries are high, and we are at the peak of geopolitical tension and the trade tension. I think it goes without saying that risk reward wise, it is obviously a precious metal. Should be the major portion of your asset allocation, whether you are doing cash and carry, whether you are taking naked or whether you are apportioning some portion of your wealth, and it's not gonna go that soon. Okay, so I think it's not gonna solve. So like we are hearing the sentences where like Supreme Court is saying US that it is invalid, and President come and say that there would be more harsher steps. And we just heard that Israel has just bombed Iran. So nowhere it seems that it is over. It is far from over. So I think precious metal, and the risk wise, if you see, then interest rate cycles are ultimately, it has bottomed out. So these are the two markets where we would like to put our asset allocations as of now, and equity being not cheap right now across the globe. If you see, I'm an Indian P, then it is around 22. US is trading at all-time high from 2008. So I think risk reward wise, equity is not something what we should be looking at right now, because it is not favoring. It's the most riskier asset to hold. So as an asset managers, as of now, our allocation would be towards precious metal. Thank you.
Mr. Massey, when it comes to market liquidity, some sense of security, credibility even, and market cap, of course, what do you think works as a better asset going forward? And that's one part of it. And again, I don't want you to choose between the one. As we have been talking since morning, whether it's about digitization, tokenization, perhaps all of this can come together and make for a better asset class, a better product, would you say?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we as a technology company, Ticker as a technology company, have positioned itself. There are products in the market, there are supply chains in the market, and we are trying to be the confluence which provides technology for products to be made easy for adoption. So the good things about each product have already been identified, people have benefited, but I think adoption is something that every country, everyone is waiting for. So we provide technology which gets a marketplace and the whole ecosystem together. So irrespective of the product, people would have need for fiat if you to enter this digital virtual world. So there is a fiat gateway. People want to buy digital assets. There are gateways that are available for digital assets, and there's a marketplace. You can buy, sell, exit anytime. So we have come from the point that we will create an ecosystem which makes adoption easier. And then second thing which actually differentiates us is product innovation. So to make adoption easier, the market is gravitating towards real world asset tokens. So what is already achieved on virtual markets? How do we get real world assets on this market and create an ecosystem which supports so that all supply chain gets integrated? And I think we are seeing a very bright future for all markets to come together. And this market enables velocity, it enables least cost transaction, and a lot of convenience. And I think we are trying to cover the whole spectrum of technology.
Mr. Massey, would you say, it's usually been, is discussed that tech is what people ask for and sometimes it's given to us. What is it that you think is relevant in the markets right now when it comes to trading inter-asset classes?
If I understood your question correctly, you're saying what is most relevant for trading? I think, regulations are important. So every country's adoption, these markets are available everywhere. And each one, because if you don't amplify how well settled these markets are, they have a nature of volatility, but that should not scare you away. So people mix volatility and regulations, whether it is they can do, they can't do. There are these questions which lingers in people's mind. But I think we've seen the move for last 3 to 5 years that gradually every country, every major institution is advocating And I think IMF, BIS, IOSCO, all of them have said these markets are there to stay. All we need to do is ensure proper regulation, and we are seeing those regulations come in place. So I see these markets are markets of future. They will coexist. There will be a confluence of all asset classes, and I don't think one gets away from the other. All of them will coexist.
So, Mr. Massey, just one more follow-up question on that. Would you say that the markets are ready now? Because there are various categories. You know, there also has been a conversation on how older people will buy bullion, the youngers will go for crypto, and then some people will go for a mix of it. Would you say technology now empowers us in many more ways, that there is a mix of these asset classes available for all?
I think people have already migrated to doing transactions digitally. So they've adopted technology already. The only difference between you buy an asset and it goes to a custody or it goes to a depository or you get it as a delivery, it's lying in a warehouse. Here, everything, all assets move to a wallet. So your ownership moves to wallet, and real assets will still be, while they are being tokenized, they are being held somewhere, like Tether. Gold is lying, so-called Switzerland. So, gold is lying somewhere, and every asset class will lie somewhere. But people will know the convenience, fine. You do get evidence of this lying in your wallet. So I think adoption would not take much time, and there are two models that are emerging. I can be a direct end user. Gradually, we will see service providers coming in and providing services so that those who find technology adoption a little difficult, intermediaries will come and assist them.
Abhijit, this one is to you then. How would, you heard 4 panelists till time. What is the sense that you're getting from the markets right now on what asset class does better than the other? The last 1 year, it clearly has been about gold. We've seen tremendous gain come in for that one. But then that's the kind of world we're living in as well. When it comes to currency realignment, currency debasement trade as well that we're talking about, what do you see on what 2026 could bring forth?
Being a refiner, I'm seeing that gold is obviously, the demand has tremendously increased for physical gold. And today, if you see, Jignesh Bhai pointed a very, very simple point, that crypto is 90% technology, 10% trust. Gold is 90% trust, doesn't have the technology. If we are putting the technology with gold, now you see we have MasterCard has issued ATM cards, which can be backed by XAU. So your gold can be converted to ATM cards. You can go and do credit card purchases, and it will be charged in your gold, this thing. So definitely, the more and more technology comes into play, the gold is taking that much importance and gaining more trust of people against fiat currencies and crypto. Till now, physical gold was there. People used to go and buy it and store it at home. But the more we get it into the main ecosystem, the more they will overshadow fiat and crypto. But that's my point of view. But I definitely see that in the next 20 years, even the Gen Z who want technology to be a part of the gold ecosystem, they will see value in it, because everything is backed by physical. And if it is backed by physical, they know that they can get it anytime. So we are really in a good time of era where we'll see fiat, and crypto might survive, but fiat, I doubt. People will still feel that, okay, if I have my gold, I'm happy.
Would you say 2025 basically belonged to you?
Sorry?
Would you say 2025 basically belonged to you?
It definitely belonged to, our production levels were 3 times of what we used to do in 2021, 2022. So
people were buying in premium, right?
Yes. Silver was running at like $10, $12 premium just in first quarter of 2026. So even now, people who cannot afford gold, they are moving to silver. That let us keep this as, because if gold we cannot afford gold, why not silver?
All right, so as he says, technology 10% and trust 90% is what gold gives you. I'll, of course, come back to you on that, Quynh, later on. But Professor Sundaravalli, this one is to you. If we are, we're not looking at vis-a-vis, as I said, it perhaps is going to be a world order which will see all of these things together, integrated in some sense. One, how do you look at it like that? And second, what kind of a regulatory framework do you think that needs to evolve going forward?
Thank you very much, Manisha. It's good to be on the panel with you. we are talking about fiat currency, bullion, and cryptos. All the three of them are completely different, diverse in terms of several things: functionalities, risk, volatility, trust factor, regulation, etc., etc. And there are two approaches to this. An average investor an average investor investment portfolio, when you look at this, people tend to say that you don't put all your eggs into one basket and you have an equal thing. I don't want to be the FOMO. I don't want to miss out on this. This is the average investor approach. Many times, today we had Sri Shashi Tharoor coming from the opposition party, but many times when I observe the current government, particularly in this bullion or finance ministry, even in the other ministries, in the way in which they function things, it appears like, I don't want to be missed out on anything. That's the way the current government is perhaps going in. Sometimes I feel a little, little bored and little disappointed that thought process by an average, average investor or the average approach in the government adopts. Why I would tell you, because see, every country, you know me. Most of the time, I try to speak from the perspectives of India, my country, our country. When you look at things, we must understand and we must play on our strengths. We cannot forget our strengths, right? So, and I don't want to talk about China at this moment briefly for 1 second. When you look at, say, Japan or say Switzerland, they don't have anything called as a bullion producer or a bullion consumer, but they are all leaders in the bullion market, right? And now when I look back to me or us as a country, what is my strength? Do you want to rely on fiat currency? And do we even have a perception on where our country is going? We are becoming a little bit of a trendsetter in the recent few years. We have started saying things which were never told, which we say that, I don't want to deal with the dollar. We go big into de-dollarization. I don't want to have a common currency when some other country is going to dictate me that this is the currency that you're going to trade in. We have started saying things like this. Okay, that's one part. And when you talk about crypto, and just yesterday I was in GSMC, right? There we were listening to our chief economic advisor, my friend Dr. Anant Nageshwaran, and he was trying to say about, and I really appreciated that. He was trying to say about when it comes to AI summit or technology or anything, including at some point of time, this is going to be coming about crypto also. India always has taken an harvested approach in initiating anything, even in AI. Maybe we are capable of taking a first market advantage, but we don't do that. We take a very careful and an harvested approach. We conceptualize things, we become a little more confident about where we are getting into, and then we go ahead, right? So, in that sense, I would rather think about bullion in a big way. We as a country, first part. Second part, when I wanted to look at it, in bullion there are actually, like some of my panel colleagues have been saying, in bullion there are two streams that we are going to talk about. One is about the physical, and then the second is about the digital part. Both are fine. Well, that's a second thing. In this again, one important thing is that the next part that I would like to perceive is from whose perspective I'm speaking about. When I am going to bet my bullion, am I going to speak about from the government perspective, or from the buyer or the investor perspective, or from the ecosystem? We are sitting in the bullion, bullion business people. Am I talking from whose perspective? That also makes a difference. And in that, I would like to think, particularly since I am sitting among the bullion business owners, I think we are sitting in our glory. We are we are kind of, still not come out of the warmth of the sun, and I think we are losing our strength in that. And because slowly the consumer behavior or buying behavior, market behavior is drifting towards digital. So what is going to happen of the gems and jewelry industry? What is going to be happening of the pure 23 or 24 carat jewelry that traditionally that we have taken pride upon? I believe that the shift is happening, and what is the industry going to talk about? How long can we sit in this warmth? Is my question, and I think digitalization, all these things are all fine. I also get fascinated, but for the jewelry sector, we have to think very differently. Thank you so much, Manisha. I think I'll get an opportunity to talk to you again.
Yeah, of course. And that's very, very interesting as a perspective. But I don't think, Professor, that we're going to change there. Jewelry will stay on, but yes, the investment will all perhaps move to digitization. Yes, that has been a conversation that India for the longest time has been thriving on its household gold, Istri Dhan, etc. Is that going to change from physical to digital or tokenization in some sense is a conversation that also seems to be doing some rounds now. But we have the last 5 minutes. Let me come to each one of you and ask you that if this is the new world order that we are looking at, where things are changing, then by 2030, Quynh, let me start with you. Where do you see various asset classes standing?
Yeah, I think that we have mentioned a lot about different asset classes, but from our point of view, I think each of the asset class serve different demands and needs. For example, when it comes to fiat currency, people are still using it on a daily basis for payments and settlements because, of course, for wherever countries, for every countries that we come and then we see, of course, the government, the regulations still want a fiat currency, their currency, to remain as the legal tender, which makes 100% sense, right? For like US stablecoin, for US dollar-backed stablecoin like USDT, we actually want to position it more like a settlement layer for cross-border payment rather than a legal tender. For example, like there are a lot of like corridors that struggle with the cost, the settlement time, the hours, the trading hours between, for example, when I come to New Zealand or Australia, I feel that the cost, they are pretty much of the exporting country. And there are a lot, very high costs associated with all the cross-border payment for them to receive the dollar back to the country. So, and especially like another example that I see in APAC region is for Taiwan. So Taiwan do a lot of export to other countries because they are one of the well-known country for semiconductor. And like if they ship the products to other parts of the world, like Africa, Latin America, and then other parts of the world actually now want to make a payment using the stable coin. However, the company in Taiwan, they cannot receive a stable coin because of the regulations or because the company is publicly listed company. So their like stable coins actually really help to facilitate the cross-border settlement. And also we're talking about XAUT, Tether gold-backed stable coin. So people see it as a store of value. And then we're actually seeing a lot of interesting use cases around it. For example, we work with a payment service providers like in some other countries. And then whenever people make a transactions, either with a fiat or with a stable coin, they can receive a cashback with Tether Gold, XAUT. Or recently, there's a public article talking about a publicly listed company actually pay a dividend in XAUT, which is very interesting. So it's but it's going back to the root and also where physical gold stands for its property because its rarity, because its universal acceptance across borders and cultures. We strongly believe that gold or gold-backed stablecoins still remain as a strong options for store of value. And then maybe we can talk a little bit about crypto like Bitcoin. We also a strong believer in Bitcoin. We bought a lot of Bitcoin together with gold. So we have more than 100,000 of Bitcoin on our balance sheet together with gold. And then we always believe that having gold as one of asset in the portfolio makes a lot of sense because of the exposure to the innovation and also to the growth of the digital assets industry.
Oh, well, absolutely. Quynh, I have to tell you that I've been following Tether for a very, very long time, but it really started making a lot of sense after you started buying gold. I mean, that really was rising to the occasion that we saw as the market. So absolutely, fungibility, interoperability, cross-border payments, on all of that and much more is what Tether is doing right now. Having said that, 98% of stable coins still are backed by US dollar. So other countries really are in the queue, yet to do a lot in that sense.
I think by 2030, that is what your question is. I think I'll just go not up until 2025. Probably the discussion would have been only fiat currency versus gold versus crypto. Now the word gold has now suddenly turned bullion. What it means is also we are talking about silver in the process. By 2030, I think the discussion will be more likely fiat currency versus bullion versus crypto versus base metals. Also, I feel. But I think all of this will coexist. All of these currencies and the base metal have their own utility, have their own fundamentals, have their own time value of money, have their own set of counterparty risk, no counterparty risk. So I think all of them will coexist. And I also feel firmly that in 2030 we may be talking also about base metals.
I'll add AI to that list as well. But yes, moving on.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty interesting. And I would like to say that any part of money is basically rest on a trust. But the question is, where is the trust and where the trust would reside? So what I mean is basically that fiat currency, when we are talking about it, is a political money. Basically, it comes out where the power is from, so state of power. Okay. Precious metals, as Kumar is saying, gold and silver is a natural money. And crypto, when we are saying, is a technological money. So here we have to see that it is like right now, it is over dependence on a dollar, where people are crying a foul and then they are deleveraging from that. And that is the reason precious metal is getting that traction, what it is getting now. But it is very difficult by saying that, and in a real world, it is very difficult to replace the real power, So fiat currency is here, it's not going anywhere. By 2030 at least, it is going to be here, and it's going to be a major part of our currency in circulation. Precious metal, definitely with more and more hedge funds and more new people and retail also understanding how important it is, would get a traction. And just because it's more of trust, holding in the way of wallet or holding in a way of, say, crypto, would still take time to adopt and would be slower. So my point would be like, fiat would still rule the world. Because there is no second power. So if you see that in the past, all major base currency shift. So previously it used to be a Spanish, and then it would be a Great Britain, and then US after World War II. So whoever is in the power, whoever is basically a state who is in controlling authority, their currency becomes a base. And we don't have any other currency which can still take over. If we are talking of BRICS, but BRICS is not even, 15% of world daily transaction volume world needs. So these are good talk. We can talk about it, and evolution does happen, but it does happen slowly. So my point is, fiat is going to be there.
If I could read Mr. Massey's mind, he's thinking, 2030, we're going to be all talking about tech and AI and technology. What are you talking about?
technology is a big enabler. And I think there is a tectonic shift that is taking place, which we miss when we look at product specific. We are becoming one market, one world, one market. And I think this shift, and then everything getting reduced to technology adding velocity. Stablecoin, total stablecoins issued by all the companies is about $350 billion. The velocity, the total amount of stablecoins that get traded are 35 trillion. So we can discuss from distance, is trust there, is adoption taking place or not? But the numbers indicate that people have just absorbed that. So I think there is a confluence of all these three asset classes, which are two asset classes, and fiat joining in, because fiat gets represented as a stable coin, and then real world assets coming in. I think the markets by 2030 would be very significant. Adoption will take place everywhere. US has taken the lead. We have seen shift from country A to country B. So if you are quick in policy making, markets will shift. And new epicenters will come, because this is like liquidity never seen before. It just travels wherever, Dubai has been a big votary of this market, and we've seen every global company shift there just because they're getting regulatory framework to be located. So I think it's time every nation will take a policy decision to move there. I think by 2030, we will see those things happen. And markets, we don't have to put a number to it. Thank you.
Oh yes, real world asset tokenization is right here and now, and we are moving towards that. The numbers absolutely show that. Abhijit, how do you see, or how do you envision 2030?
I envision that by 2030, the reliance on fiat will keep on going down, and on crypto and bullion will go up. The clear reason is that if you see, even the BRICS have 40%, they want to launch a currency with 40% backed by gold, and they want to do all the settlements in gold. So plus, US has the power to keep on sanctioning. And if we are seeing that Russia and Iran, which have been sanctioned for so many years, have clearly survived because of USDT and crypto. So they have already moved their economies on those cryptocurrencies. So I think both crypto and bullion will have a great way to go ahead for 2030, but the reliance on fiat might go down because people don't want the hassle. Why should like my friend said, one world, one market, but still US is controlling it because of the dollar. So I think if you want to move ahead, that is the way ahead. So
I'm assuming all of you own fiat currencies. All of you own bullion as well. How many of you own crypto? Not asking you. Do you own crypto at all? You do? No? Mr. Massey would own perhaps?
Yes.
You own crypto. So, okay, half our panel does own crypto in that sense as well. So we are invested into all of these three. Professor.
Well, see, again, speaking from the context of India, I think you're talking about what's going to be in 2030. We as a country, I think fiat currency is behind us. No other countries have started this. Fiat currency is behind us, and we are gone away. And crypto is too far away from us at this moment. That's what I would like to think. But when you look at the bullion, I would put my bet on bullion. In bullion, again, there are two things. Not because I'm sitting here, I'm saying this. In bullion, again, there are two things. You talk about physical as well as digital. Where we have a gap is in terms of trust building. In terms of responsible business, responsible policies. So in trust building, there's a significant scope from the government side, from the business owner side, from everybody in this ecosystem. So I think that's where we should focus on. And both should be good, I would guess. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, panel, for joining in and having that very, very exciting discussion. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much.